You're watching Every Days and Saturdays, USMC veteran. Let's go, baby. And here's your host, Brian. Boom, man, what's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for joining Marie and Brian on Coffee Talk. We hope you guys are having an amazing day, amazing week out there. How are you doing today, Marie?
I'm doing good today.
Doesn't she
So,
sound like
I'm
a
glad to
professional
be here.
now, guys? Doesn't she sound all
I know.
profesh?
I got a new mic.
Yeah,
Oh,
look at her.
yeah.
She's joining the dark side, and she's now like official podcaster.
I
That's
know. I'm
starting
sorry
to
for
get the
the
equipment.
last couple ones because I feel like the sound was not very good. So, we're
It's
doing
all good.
better now.
Now we got that professional sound and perfect. So before we get started, you know how we like to do. Let's go ahead and brew up some coffee, and for some of you, some hot cocoa. But here we go. All right. What you guys got in your cup? Well, Cash Coffee is a awesome place to go get yourself some coffee. They got great flavors. They also are all about nutrition. They got some stuff to help you if you want to lose some weight, you just need some vitamins for your body. They got it all. They also have some amazing merch out there that will make you laugh or if make you offended. One of the two. It depends on what where you fall out in the in the realm of things. But they are amazing. They're located in Utah. They do some really great community things. I've been watching some videos of them helping veterans and stuff like that. They are just really all about their community. So I'll be sure to link the where you can order yourself some in the description, and it will also help me since I'm an affiliate for Cash Coffee. But all right. We're gonna go ahead and get into it today. Today's Marie's turn, and before she gets started on kind of her PTSD timeline and when she's kind of started realizing how her PTSD started affecting her. Because some of us, I don't think that you have that realization right off rip that you even have a problem, right? Sometimes it takes a little time before you start to realize, oh shit, and then you kind of go back and you start to, oh okay, and you start to peel back the onion a little bit and get down to the core. You start to realize where some of these things came from. But what an amazing journey it's been for us so far. We've this is already episode 22, right? And 22 is a number that we hear a lot of, right? We hear that all the time, and it's a horrible number to think about. But we're losing, in some cases, more than 22 a day, to veteran suicide, where our brothers and sisters are taking their own lives, and that's a really hard pill to swallow. And that's a big reason why Marie and I take the time to talk about things, because that number hits us hard, and we would love to see that number drive completely away, gone. Um, but everybody, you can only do your part in the community, right? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do the best we can, put our stories out there, put what's worked out there for us. It may not work for everybody, but it's another avenue you can explore that maybe you didn't have before. And we want everybody else out there to feel comfortable and understand that it's okay to not be okay. Life is rough, dude. It doesn't get any easier when you get out of the military. It actually gets harder for a lot of us. 4 years, 8 years, whatever, 10 years is a very small slit in your entire life, right? So when you do your 4 years or what, however many years you do, man, that number really gets small later, as you get down the road. and you got a whole life ahead of you when you get out, right? So, we're just trying to have some transparency. It may not relate to everybody, but we're just telling our stories and hoping that someone out there is like, gosh dang, man, look at them. Look at them now. I know if you were to ask me like 4 or 5 years ago, would I be a podcast? I was, what the hell is a podcast? First off, you know, let alone be the host of one and have the ability to talk in front of a camera and be okay with not being okay in front of a whole bunch of a lot of people I don't know. But man, what a journey! And Marie came on and we had an interview and we just like, hey, you know what? Let's continue with your story. Let's get others out there. And so now I'm roping her into it.
And I'm glad. I'm glad 'cause I've
Absolutely.
been
It's been
enjoying
a
it.
fun journey, and I think you're really like blossoming into it, and you're really, I think you listen to yourself, you go back, and you're like, what can I do better? And that's kind of what it takes within the podcast world. It's not an overnight thing, and whenever I tell anybody that's asking any kind of advice about starting a podcast, the first thing I will always tell you is that it is not a race. It is a marathon. It is something that you just got to condition yourself for the long haul. So um, if you want to get better, you watch your show, you look back, you listen to yourself. Sometimes it's hard to do that. A lot of people don't like to do that. Don't like to hear themselves talk or whatever. But to kind of hone into your skills, you kind of got to watch back and look at yourself and say, I say a lot. I catch myself. I do it all the time. I've been doing this. I'm on my third year of doing this, and I still to this day trip over my words. Sometimes I just get that like, what the hell was I saying? It's great, but I'm so happy Marie's here, and as usual, we're gonna start it off with an amazing poem by her, and we're still waiting for that damn link, but at least we get to hear it here. So you guys want to continue to hear, make sure you tune in. It's a great opportunity for you guys to like the show, share it with your friends and family. Uh, and we're getting ready to have some guests on. We're gonna open this up. We're gonna start bringing on some guests that can definitely help in the mental health world. And I think that's kind of what we're gearing towards, is trying to help mentally sound people and try to get us all at a level of we can function and be good humans in society, good parents, good workers, good family members. You know, we all would love to see everybody get there because man, we are some badass mofos out in this community. So, all right, Marie, let's go ahead and hear one of your amazing poems. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the stage.
All right. Hey guys, I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Brian, for the intro. I'm working on 5 new poems and a children's book right now. So, it's still going. I'm having fun with it. So the poem I'm going to read today is called Understanding Love, and it's kind of like the overarching principle of what my life has been since I got sober, and basically kind of learning how to love myself, love other people, love God. And there's my PTSD was an addiction to aloneness, right? Is isolation, and I can't trust anybody. And so this poem kind of, yeah, helped me fight through it. So it's called Understanding Love, and I wrote it at about a year sober. For years I knew the concept of love, though it took a very long time to understand God's plan for me, that love could really be mine. Somewhere along the way my signals got all disturbed. The idea of an actual love was absolutely absurd. As my heart started reopening and the walls were falling apart, the idea of true self love is where I had to start. My self love began by learning that I truly am a daughter, given to faithful earthly parents to guide me back to Heavenly Father. The next step was learning that God had given me a call so I could escape the ramifications of Adam's original fall. There is work that I am starting, filling my lamp up with oil and watering that seed of faith that was hidden beneath the soil. I am starting to learn of charity and humbling myself to Christ, although in my past I have denied him more than only thrice. God knew I needed help to guide me along my way, so he sent me helping hands to work with day by day. He connected me with another brother, the spirit who lives inside, to help me buckle up, for ahead lay a bumpy ride. He gave me Sister Gaia, or Mother Nature as she's shown, to help keep me grounded as the changing winds have blown. I'm not sure what the future holds or what awaits tomorrow. However, I know I'm grateful for those testimonies I've borrowed. I got them from others who struggled and recognized God's hands so that I could have some kind of foundation I can firmly stand. They've helped me find my missing piece to soften up my heart. They've helped me escape that lie inside, a new journey to impart. The lie was that I didn't know love and thought I had to run. However, God has always shown it to me. He's loved me all along. I just couldn't see beyond the guilt and shame that I needed to fix my view and stop giving others blame. I made choices in my past that led me to dark places. And as I look back now, I see the love in all those cases. I was never alone, though I really did struggle. Every time I asked for help, he pushed away the rubble. So, to my family up in heaven and the ones down here below, whether I've met you before this day or you're a sibling yet to know, I promise I will try to love you the way that God intended. I know that while I'm doing this, my heart will be healed and mended. I hope with my words and actions, others may one day see the love that God has for them, as others have shown me.
Nice. Outstanding.
Thank you.
Another great poem by Marie. And you guys are going to be able to get yourself a copy soon. Once she gets us the link, we'll provide it here on the show and put it in the description of the show as well. So you guys just click on it, boom, go get yourself a copy. All right, Marie, the floor is now yours, and now you get to kind of get back and kind of take us down that PTSD timeline.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I'm going to try and consciously work on my ums and likes and stuff like that. So, we'll see what happens. But so I just kind of wanted to backtrack a little bit. So I shared some of my story where I got back from Iraq and I moved into trying to figure out how to live life without the military. And when I got out of the military, I got myself into a very codependent alcoholic relationship. And I ended up having to leave that. And I moved to Florida and kind of got lost in my alcoholism, and that's when I hit my bottom and I got sober. And in my sobriety, I didn't know how to handle life. And it started when I stopped self-medicating, I started hitting my bottoms emotionally. And I ended up in the psych unit for the first time because I got triggered back to some childhood sexual stuff. In the psych unit is when I got triggered into some of my military stuff that I had never faced. So, with that, they ended up kind of misdiagnosing me. They put me on a bunch of meds. I started doing some trauma therapy, started addressing some things. When I got through my trauma therapy, that is when I ended up hitting another emotional bottom and got triggered yet again and ended up in the psych unit for the second time.
So how long were you in the psych ward the first time?
So I don't remember exactly. I think it was about 3 weeks.
So when you were in there, is that like a really big, like, you just kind of forgot about it? Like, do you kinda not really remember that through those 3 weeks while you were in the psych ward, or was it kind of a blur for you because of just the mental, like, your mental health?
It was kind of a blur, but at the same time, I do remember bits and pieces of it. It was a time where I that was kind of when I started finding more hope in the fight a little bit, but it was interesting because there was a guy that was, like, screaming and yelling, inside there, which is what kind of triggered me, and I, like, screamed at him, and I was like, "Stop!" And then he started, following me and backed me up into a room, and they actually had to get involved and get him out of there, but that
Mm,
that was another situation that made me feel, like, really unsafe. It was really interesting how that happened, but I remember just finally hearing people talk about their deployment stuff. Because when I had, got out of the military, I talked to some people about things, but it was mostly about distracting, like, most of the veterans I knew, I just drank with. And so I didn't really have experience talking about the military stuff. And so it was definitely just a unique situation to be in there where people are actively triggered. They're not drunk, they're not high, they're actually being forced to experience their stuff. And so it was yeah, so half of it was a blur and half of it was a recognition of what was actually going on, if that makes sense.
mhm.
And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I am still the only one on
Yeah,
screen.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I made you
I
that way
was
because you're talking mostly, so I was just like, "I'll just let her go."
okay, I was just confused there for a minute, sorry.
No, you're
Okay,
good.
so I still struggle with change and it makes me uncomfortable. So I'm not used to this. So that just kind of putting myself out there.
Oh, she's like, "You're making me I hate the solo-ness."
Yes, but it's okay. It's okay.
There, does that make you feel a little more okay, I'll help you feel a little more secure.
Well,
Uh,
at least people know that I'm still a little insane working through things.
it it's all good. I'm here to hold your hand, Marie, so I'm here. Where
Um,
are you? Oh, here you are.
yeah, I know. Hold
Uh,
hold my hand.
uh,
Yeah, that's funny. Sorry.
no,
Yeah.
you're good.
But anyways, so
Now the second time you
shortly
went into the now we're talking about you ended up how long were you out before you ended up going to the psych ward the second time?
5 years.
Oh, shit, okay, so you there was a
Yeah.
little bit of some time in between.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up before I forget though. So right before or like 6 months before I went into the psych unit the first time, I had a really cool experience where I ended up getting this cat. Her name is Stella. And it was a very spiritual way the way I ended up getting her. I met her original owner at the temple and this lady had gotten Stella off of the street because the neighbors had been, evicted, and she was an indoor cat, and they just left her outside. She got attacked. This lady found her, took her into the vet, fixed her up, but she already had, like, 3 dogs and 3 cats, and Stella didn't do well with the other cats, so they had to keep her locked up in a room. And it was such an interesting situation because as soon as this lady's telling me about this cat, I had this feeling this cat is mine. I ended up getting getting Stella and it was really cool because I had a situation where I had to make space for her in my closet, make space for some of her stuff and the stuff that I had to get rid of to make space for her was a representation of some of my past trauma. And when I got rid of that and made space for her, I had this feeling where I was finally when I'm talking about understanding love, right? I was finally opening up my heart to some sort of genuine love. Stella became my support animal. I actually got her registered as my emotional support animal.
Oh, wow.
She helped me to feel and understand what actual love was. Because, like I said before, with my addictions and stuff, it was an addiction of loneliness. With my PTSD, I felt isolated. I didn't feel connected to anybody between the trauma from childhood and then the military trauma and stuff like that. And I just felt so isolated and alone. And so when Stella came to my life, it really was this opening up, this crack in my heart of what love actually was, like an unconditional love. And so that's important because that kind of led Stella over those 5 years. So when COVID hit and there was so much isolation, I had Stella with me. Okay. And so there was many times where I felt like super suicidal, but Stella would come and she would lay on my chest.
How old is
Like
Stella at like, is she an older cat? Was she
s so sh I got her when she was 9 already, I
Oh, so
believe,
she's an
8
older
or
cat
9.
for sure. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
okay.
she was just this old grumpy lady that just loved to cuddle, that was it. And it was so beautiful because whenever I was feeling really tough, she would come and just lay on my chest. When I would go travel, I would have her on a leash and she would sit up on my shoulder as we traveled, you know,
Mhm.
and it was so fun. She was with me all the time. I would take her for walks, she just helped me feel love again. Like I had dogs in the past, but dogs are just a little bit different. Stella was just I don't know, like, the dogs that I had were kind of puppies, and Stella was just this old soul, and it's important because, like I said, there was many times where I felt pretty suicidal, but I had this little animal with me that I had to take care of, and this little animal that would just let me feel love. And so through those 5 years as I struggled with my food addiction, when I got up to my highest weight, when 2020 hit, with all of this stuff and I felt those moments of isolation, I still had this little creature with me, you know? And I will say it is super, super highly suggested by me that if you are struggling, get an animal because it requires you to have to kind of get
Look
out of
into
yourself
it.
at least a
Yeah.
little bit, you know? So I move forward, okay, and if you're interested in, more in depth of my story, watch some of the previous podcasts because I am totally jumping through so many things, but just kind of like touching base on this stuff. So in the psych unit the second time, and that was when they took me off all of my medications, and then I was off all the stimulants, because at some, when I was a child, I had the ADHD meds, I had mental health meds over the years, I had all of these meds because they thought that I was bipolar and whatnot. I get off all of these meds and now they know that I'm borderline with PTSD. And so I am responding emotionally to my past traumas. And it's not just a chemical reaction. So anyways, moving forward, I get out of that psych unit. Around that time is when my body just starts falling apart. As I was saying before, I had the breast reduction, I had lost the weight, my body starts moving more than it was supposed to. They figure out I've got this genetic condition, and then my hips get torn apart, and I end up going into well, I they tell me that I have to get my hips replaced. So around this time as well is when, my husband and we had been like best friends for like 6 years. I wanted more than he was able to give, and so we kind of took a break from each other for a little while so I could kind of let go of the codependency. Because I was like, "Okay, I'm holding on to something that is not going to happen. Like, this is not a good thing." So anyways, I left town for a month, and when I came back, there was just a whole lot of different things that happened.
Did
Go
he
ahead.
feel like you was getting smothered or like, I mean, were you kind of like attaching yourself to him and that made him want to distance himself a little bit because you were
Well,
just
yes, it wasn't him, like, it was me. Like, he knew that I was miserable. because
Got you.
I wanted more. Like
Right.
he was fine just being friends and stuff like that, but it was me that it wasn't him wanting to distance, it was me that I could not emotionally distance it, so I needed to take a break for a while.
Got it.
When I got back, we ended up having a conversation and spending time together, and, it just ended up where we both ended up on the same page, and we decided that we wanted to be together, but it was only after I let go of the expectation and trying to force things, if that makes sense. And so then we got to know each other on a different level, and I wasn't trying to force things anymore, and I wasn't feeling,
You're just
frustrated and
letting it kinda naturally happen, right?
yes. And so then we
Organically, they would
yes,
say.
yes. And this again is me learning to understand the concept of love, right? Which is like what that poem was about, like learning how to understand what love was because for so long I felt so disconnected or I felt like I had to force things or I felt like things were codependent. So anyways, this all happens and then I end up in the care facility to get my hips replaced. Okay. So this is kind of where I left off last time, So I'm in this care facility. And while I'm in this care facility, I have to have somebody else take care of my cat, which was super hard for me because I had gotten so codependent on my cat as my emotional support animal, right? So I don't have her. I'm also in this new relationship trying to figure out how to date in sobriety because I have never really dated in sobriety, and I'm in
Mm.
this care facility. And in this care facility, it's a bunch of other veterans and a bunch of older veterans. Now, a lot of them are super triggered in and of themselves. So I'm in a very vulnerable state. I'm dealing with a bunch of triggered other people, some of them triggered with their military, but in this in this care facility, it was wonderful. I am so grateful for it, but there were a couple instances that really triggered my PTSD. And like for the first time in my life, I am genuinely completely and utterly vulnerable. Okay. So for the months prior to that, let me back up. For the months prior to that, I ended up Brent had become and this is kind of where things got kind of crazy. Brent had become my unofficial caregiver because between my emotional stuff and my physical stuff getting out of hand, I had gotten to the point where I couldn't take care of myself. I mean, and I couldn't really take care of even my cat. Like the cat poop was just piling up, the dishes were piling up, the laundry was piling up. I could not physically take care of myself as much. And then emotionally, it got worse because I'm feeling more vulnerable. And so Brent became this unofficial caregiver, and I think that was kind of where things got messed up in my brain, where it was
Mm.
like, "Oh, well, he's here all the time," so then I was, like, kind of getting the attached to it, and the codependency came in. And so I ended up having to talk to the VA to get home health care to come in and start helping me. And that was a huge ego, like a cut to my ego. It's like,
Mm.
okay, I cannot do things on my own. And so that was another contributing factor to me realizing that I was not okay. And that came into I started going through this pendulum of, "Oh, I'm broken and I'm never gonna get better," versus, "Oh, I'm just manipulating things and I really don't need all of this help." And I would go through these pendulum, and around the same time is also when I started having to I didn't have to, but I applied for Social Security disability. So I had been on my VA disability, but at this point, it's like, "Hey, like, I really I'm not gonna be able to work anymore." Like, I haven't worked for a while, but it was, like, finally, like, getting to that point, like, I really am not okay.
Mm.
And so that put me in such a huge vulnerable place, you know? And so anyways, so we kind of move forward. I have had home health care coming in, taking care of me, and I'm just in this defeated place, super vulnerable. I end up in the care facility, so now I'm not in my own comfort zone. I'm in this vulnerable place around all these other vulnerable people. So the care facility triggered me in multiple different ways, which I'm so very grateful for. But like one of the big ones was that I started being faced with death. There were people dying almost every week, and sometimes it was multiple people because this is a care facility for mostly, older people or people who are sick, you know? And so I started really being confronted with death that I had already dealt well, it triggered me into the multiple layers of death in my life. So the first one was, in the military, in my deployment and losing people there. So I was triggered into, well, crap, I'm losing other veterans. I'm losing people that I know, losing people that I've met. There is that, but also all the suicides that I've had in my life because along with 2020 hitting and affecting me emotionally, that was when I lost probably, 15 to 20 people that I deployed with to suicide, and a couple people in recovery who were also veterans. And so and I didn't really process through all of that stuff. And so now I'm in this care facility, I'm dealing with this death, and I'm being triggered into the suicides, I'm being triggered into Iraq, all of that stuff with the death, and not quite sure how to handle that. Also, they ended up and this one is, no, I'll get to that one in a second. I also had a couple moments where there was some of the old guys, and this is just a natural result of aging and losing memories and losing inhibition. Some of the older guys were very hypersexual.
Mm.
And so there were times that I saw some of the guys being inappropriate to some of the nurses, trying to grab their butts or trying to flirt or trying to hit on them. There was also a situation where I ended up alone in a room with this old guy who starts telling me a story about how he got away with I can't remember what it was that he did, but something it wasn't rape, but it was, like, some sort of
Like a
sexual
sexual assault.
harassment.
Yeah.
Yes, sexual assault, and he got away with it because his therapist told him that he had a mental problem.
Mm.
And so I'm sitting there and I freeze, and this guy's in a wheelchair, I could have easily walked past him, but I was in this vulnerable
Like a
state, so I
deer in a headlight type thing, you
yeah.
just got stuck, huh?
Well, and I'm using a walker at this point, a walker
Oh,
and a
okay,
cane
yeah,
because of my
yeah.
hips, and like I could have gone past him, but I start fawning and I just kind of sit there and just listen to him. And I didn't have a voice and I felt so uncomfortable. And finally, I ended up getting away from the situation, but that triggered me into feeling like just dirty and nasty and well, shit, if this guy's capable of that, what's he capable of doing to me, especially now that I can't defend myself as much? Yeah, he's in a wheelchair, but it doesn't matter. He's still a man. I'm still a woman. He could still, and I'm a firm believer that men and women are different and men can overpower women. You know what I mean? Like more often than not. And so I
Right.
don't know if he's going to have a good day. He could stand up and I didn't know. So, but that was a trigger for me, so I'm being triggered by death. I'm being triggered because I'm just in a vulnerable state and I can't protect myself because I've had, this hip replacement, you know,
And you've been
and
feeling unsafe already, so
yes,
yeah.
yes. And so there is a lot of that kind of stuff. And then to top things off, they decided to have an active shooter drill in the building. So they
Oh
actually
gosh.
yeah. Yeah.
Is this a full veteran facility? Oh
Yes.
boy.
I know. Like, it was the most
I don't know
ridiculous
how good
thing.
of idea that is.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
understand that it's probably necessary,
yeah. Well,
but
yeah.
boy,
So what ended
talk
up
about
happening.
triggering a whole bunch of folks.
Yes. So it was the local police department. They just needed somewhere to do an active shooter drill, and somebody thought that it would be a good idea because, like, veterans, they like to play, like, they like to play war and stuff like that. So anyways, what they did was they recognized the people that would get triggered the most. They took them off campus for an activity.
Mm,
The
mm.
other people who didn't wanna be involved, they were allowed to go into their room and shut the door, or they could go into the activity room and do an activity. And then there were those of us who volunteered to play a part. And my husband and I were like, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's play a part." Okay? And I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be fine. Like, this is great. This is fun." So, my husband was to play the role of somebody that got shot in the head,
So your
and
husband he's in the same facility as you.
so he lives an hour away. So what he
So
would
he's just
do.
visiting. He's a
Yes.
visitor,
So
but
so
he was able to partake.
Yes.
Oh,
So what he had done was, so we're officially dating at this point, getting to know each other more on a different level. He lives an hour away, so what he would do is he would drive out and stay with a friend for a couple of days at a time, and then come
gotcha.
and see me all day and hang out. And it was so amazing and so sweet. And so he was just there and participated with me with everything, you know. But yeah, so he played the role of somebody that got shot. I played the role of, his loving, adoring wife or whatnot, holding him. I
Ooh.
got shot in my arm and I'm
Oh,
screaming for help,
yeah.
trying to distract the police as they're trying to search for the active shooter. And so I'm like, "Help, help, please help me," trying to get them off of their course. So we go through this and it winds up, I'm like laughing and joking and having fun. The guy comes in and I'm like, "Help, help, please," and I'm holding Brent in my arms
Are you
and
guys trying not to laugh during this?
yes.
You
Yes.
guys,
So we're just enjoying it.
yeah.
After the event about an hour later, it hits me. It
Hmm.
hits me like a ton of bricks, and I'm going to cry. It hits me like a ton of bricks because I realized that that is one of my biggest fears. Like, this is the man that I love. What would I do if he was dying in my arms?
Yeah, I was wondering how that was gonna be, having your husband shot, right? Like
Yes.
in yeah, okay.
Yeah. And this was when we're just dating still at this point, but it's like I'm in love with this man, like what would I do? And then it also hit me when I was screaming, "Help, help, help." It brought me back to Iraq, where there was this 12-year-old boy who was shot by friendly fire with a 50 cal through his thigh.
Fuck me.
It was a local national. They weren't supposed to bring him on base. They were supposed to bring him to one of their own facilities, but because it was friendly fire, somebody brought him on base with his dad. They brought him inside, and I just remembered the dad. He was just like, "Help, help us, I don't know what to do." And he was like asking, like screaming for help. And then my job as an ambulance driver is like he's sitting there freaking out over his son. His son is passed out. And he's
Unconscious.
like, "What do we do? What do we do?" Anyways, they had done the life-saving procedures, and we were getting ready to send him on the helipad, and they made me separate him from his son.
Mm.
And so he was freaking out because he just wanted his son. He just wanted his son, and I had to take him separately and say, "No, you need to come with me. You need to come with me." And I just remember being forced to remove this man from his son
Mm.
and him just asking for help. So anyways, when I'm sitting there holding Brent, and I'm screaming out for help, I just pictured the little boy and his dad screaming for help. So that really, on top of all of the other triggers that I am dealing with and feeling super vulnerable, that hits me, and I kind of lose my shit for a little while. And I
Mm.
I ended up having to go talk to the social worker and the actual, owner or manager or whatnot of the whole place. He comes in and checks on me later that day too, and I was so grateful. They did such an amazing job at handling my trigger, because even though all of this stuff is going on, they really care about their veterans. This facility is just phenomenal. They really, really do care and they have a lot of patience. But yeah, so the main guy, the owner, manager, whatever you want to call him, I don't know. But he came and checked on me. And then every day for that next week, somebody was coming in to check on me.
Mm.
From the moment I started going there, they actually had a therapist coming every other week checking in on me because I wasn't okay, and I was dealing with all of these triggers and whatnot, and so, yeah, so the facility really, really cared, and they handled it very, very well. So anyways, so
Do you
go
know
ahead.
if anybody else had like any kind of effects from that drill, or did you not even
N
realize because you were so in your own?
Nobody really talked to me about other people, so if they did, they didn't tell
You
me.
wouldn't. Okay.
Yeah. So it was mostly and nobody talked about my stuff either.
Sure.
So it was
Sure.
very much like, "Hey, you're allowed your autonomy to feel how you need to." So, but yeah. So anyways, so I've been triggered in 3 different ways. Triggered
Mm.
because of the death, triggered because of the sexual stuff, and triggered because of the active shooter drill. And so God was just like, "Hey, here is everything for you to be triggered."
Well, at
Oh
least
yeah.
you're in a good spot, right?
Yes.
And
Yes, and
you know, and you
that's
needed to
the thing.
be there for this.
Yes, it was I finally was in this safe place where I had people who cared about me, people who understood, and I'm in this safe relationship now because that was another thing is I was starting to get triggered with relational trauma as well.
So at least you have somewhat of a safety net to fall onto, right? Versus like falling into the rocks or the
Yes.
pits. So
Well,
I guess it's kind of like a blessing and a curse at the same time, right? Because you had to go through it, but the blessing part is you were probably in the right spot for that
yes.
to happen.
Well, and that's one of the
And
things that I
needed to happen too, right?
Yes, and that's one of the things that I wanted to touch base on. It was like, I finally was in a safe place with people who understand, with a husband or a boy at this point, a boyfriend who understood. I finally felt safe enough to allow myself to have all these triggers.
Mm,
And that's
right.
the thing. It's a lot of times if we don't feel safe, that's when we're constantly guarded. And so finding a good therapist, finding a good relationship, finding a good facility, finding a good co- support group to allow you to feel safe enough to open up is so super important,
So you
you know?
kind of had a good alignment, right? Everything
Yes.
aligned for you at the moment you kind of needed it to, so you can really start the healing process, right?
Yes.
Because I don't think you've even allowed any of this stuff to surface at this rate in time. You've already been through the
Yes.
psych ward once before.
Twice before.
Oh, twice now. Yeah, this is your
Yeah.
third freaking trip. So I mean, you needed something to finally just break loose some of the
Yes.
things that have been stuck down there. You've been suppressing it for so long, right? And
Yes.
I think sometimes you didn't even realize you were probably suppressing things. That's probably the
Yes.
other thing is that you get to suppressing so much that you lose all the stuff you're suppressing, and then it just starts to rear its ugly head when you're in a vulnerable state.
Yeah. Yeah, so what ended up happening, right, after all of this stuff, So I got the first replacement, the right hip done in October, and so most of the stuff is happening in those next 4 months. December, I was supposed to get my other surgery, but I ended up getting COVID, and this is my first time
Mm.
getting COVID. So, yay. So I get COVID on Christmas.
Oh
And so
gosh.
yeah, so
Sheesh.
that was kind of frustrating. However, because I got COVID, it pushed the surgery until February. And so in January, Brent and I made the decision like, hey, when I get out of here, I just want to move in with him. And we
But what's
decided
this year? This is like
this is last year.
2021 or
No, this
last
is
year?
last
Oh
year.
shit,
Yeah.
2024. Okay.
Yeah, so 2023 is when the first surgery. And then so now we're in January of last year.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we decide, we've known each other for over 6 years, like, let's just do it. Let's just get married. We know that we love each other. We've been dating for these 4 months after knowing each other for 6 years. We've seen each other through thick and thin, through good, through bad. He has seen me in my darkest days at 250 pounds in depression. He was a caretaker for me when I couldn't do anything and everything. You know what I mean? Like he's been through hard times, but he's also seen some really amazing times in my life. Like he's never seen me drink. He saw me when I first, I was a year sober.
Okay.
He saw me when I was just in my prime doing really good. And so he's seen all of these good and bad things, and I've watched his own journey, and if he ever decides he wants to, I'll let him share his journey, but that's his stuff. But anyway, so we make the decision, let's get married. So we get married January 23rd of last year, 2024. We get married. A week later, we find out that there was an issue with my cat, and she had been attacked by another cat,
Oh,
and her
oh.
eye got infected and she had an ulcer in
Well,
her
she's
eye.
outside or something. Like,
So I've got a friend that's been taking care of her, and she's got other cats, and
mm,
they just ended up
shit.
getting in a fight. The thing is months before that, I had this weird feeling that Stella was no longer my cat. Like, I had the feeling that she was going to that she was going to be moving on, that it was I thought it meant that she was gonna stay with the lady that was taking care of her. But there was just something that it was just like, "You don't need her anymore." And it was
Mhm.
just this peaceful feeling.
Oh wow,
It
that's
wasn't
good.
wasn't sad or anything
Yeah,
like
because
that.
that could have been really bad for you, but luckily
Yes.
you were at where you were at this rate in time, right?
Yes.
Because that could have been
Yeah.
damaging.
Yeah. So what ended up happening, so this was a week after we got married, we figured out that we needed to put her down because she was not going to make it.
Mm,
She had thyroid problems. She was 14. She's just old, and she just was not going to make it. So we ended up having to put her down. And it was
mm.
so hard. It was so emotional because she has been my emotional support animal for 5 years. I have loved her. She has helped me. After she passed away, I went through so many different emotions, but the most overpowering emotion was that you don't need her anymore because you are actually experiencing love now. It was such a hard thing because at first I felt guilty,
So
right?
you were
Because I was
easy. It
like,
was easier to kind of let her pass,
"Yes.
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and have
Yeah,
closure to it.
Yes. Well, it was I hate to say it this way, but the feeling it was, and I felt at peace, but also felt guilty, was that she was a place saver to help me learn how to love something and to feel love from something. And then I got married. And so it was just this beautiful, like I had her, she was taking care of me until I knew what love was and I found somebody
Mm.
who could love me completely. And so it was such an interesting dynamic and such an interesting feeling to have that. It's like, well, she has been such a huge part of my life, but now I have this new love. And it's not it and it's just weird because it's like it's not that it was a replacement, but at the same time it was. And it was just this weird, like she was a learning experience for me. And then I didn't need it anymore. I didn't need the emotional support animal because I had somebody who I could be safe with my emotions.
She's kind of like training wheels for you, almost like, she was just really there to keep you from hitting that rock bottom, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
and like doing something that you can't ever reverse, right? So
Yes. Yes, and many times that was true. So,
she was a
okay,
space
so
holder. She was a space
yes.
holder. She was holding
Yes.
space for you.
Yeah. And so got married in January, put Stella down, and then February, I think, like February 3rd or something like that. The beginning of February is when I had my left hip replacement.
Last year.
And yeah.
Okay.
So those next 4 months, so I was in the care facility for another 4 months after
Mm.
that. Well, no, no, no. February, March, April, May. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I was in the facility for another 4 months, and in those 4 months, it was getting used to the idea of being married, which is a
Mm.
whole 'nother level,
While you're in a
right?
facility.
Yes, yeah, and, I'm not gonna go into his story too much, but
Sure.
along with this time frame, my husband is also having the moment where he finally feels safe himself. He's not
Mm.
having to for so long, he had held on to, like, people had held on expectations of him. He was working in corporate, he was married before, he had a lot of these things where it's like, "Okay, I have to perform, I have to perform, I have to perform." And when we got married, he got to this place, like, he didn't feel like he had to perform anymore, if that
Sure.
makes sense.
Right.
And he finally felt safe enough,
You can relax a
as
little bit.
well. Well, and also being faced with a lot of other military people. He's going through his own journey of being
Sure.
triggered while I'm in the care facility because he's a veteran as well. And he's talking to other people in the veteran community and learning more about his own experience. And he
Mm.
starts finally feeling safe enough to get triggered himself. And so he is going through his own mental health journey along with this. And so we are side by side working through our own traumas, supporting each other, both of us finally feeling safe to just be where we are, completely and utterly be raw, be transparent, and be triggered and know that we're safe because he's not taking responsibility for me. I'm not taking responsibility for him, but we are just holding each other's hands through it all. And so he's
Mm.
going through his own journey. I'm going through the, "Oh shit, I'm married in sobriety. I'm not sure what to do." So we are those next 4 months is kind of like healing, preparing for the idea of moving in with each other. So he's moving all of my stuff into his house. I am working on healing and strengthening around this time as well. As my hips are healing, okay, they're not healing quite as fast as they would want them to, and they're trying to figure out, why are you not healing as much? And that is when, around that time is when or over the next year really, but starting in those last 4 months in the care facility is when they start realizing that I've got more issues going on than just the hip
Mm.
replacements. They find out I've got arthritis in my SI joints. I have pelvic floor dysfunction. I have a uterine prolapse. And so nothing in my hips is healing the way that they want it to. And they're like, "Yeah, this is not okay." They also start really noticing how my feet are collapsing inwards because I don't have any arches, which is causing my knees to collapse inwards, which is
Mm.
causing more pressure on my hips. So we have all of this stuff going on, and I'm just not healing the way that I'm supposed to.
You
So
still in a lot
some
of pain and stuff?
Yes. So some people, when they get hip replacements, within like a month or 2, they're up and moving, without a cane and without stuff like that. I'm still having to use a cane regularly.
Mm.
So anyways, all of this stuff is going on, okay? And so I'm also I'm doing therapy every single
Are you
week.
getting a little discouraged as well? Or
Yes,
how's your
yes and
mental
no.
state right
Yes,
now? You're
yes
just
and no. And this is what I was saying. I was in therapy every week. So I had a
Mhm.
therapist in the care facility, and then I had a therapist outside through the vet center. And by the
Okay.
way, if nobody knows about the vet center, it is a piece of the VA that is separate from the VA, specifically designed for combat veterans. and they do therapy, and they do groups, and they do help with like job searches and stuff like that. So they have it usually in most of the main cities. It's called the Vet Center. So take a look around. The VA can't access their records, but they can access the VA records. And so it's just a really good safe place to talk about your combat and stuff like that. So just so you know, for if anybody's looking for a good therapist. So I am doing therapy every week as I'm processing through stuff. So I get to a point where finally I'm ready to get out of the facility and I move in with Brent. Okay. When I move in with Brent, there is so many ceilings that are just busted because I didn't realize how many expectations of what a relationship should look like that I was holding on to. I was holding on to that it had to look like this and it had to be like this and it had to do this and I was like expecting this is what a husband should be. This is what a marriage should be. This is what a wife should be. And there was so much stuff that I was holding on to that I could not let go of. And it was causing a whole lot of issues in my own brain. You know, there was a few different things that came up um with with trying to figure out how to just be. You know what I mean? So he's dealing with his own mental health stuff. I am really having a hard time because I start being triggered into my past relationships. And there is just a lot of different things. And I'm not sure how much detail you would like me to go into because I know that we're at an hour now. I'm not sure if you want me to continue on or if you want me to kind of round it out. What are your thoughts? Because I still have another year and a half to talk about,
Well,
or
maybe
another
we,
year.
yeah, maybe we'll stop here. Then we'll do like a final, the last of the last leg because I got it. Yeah, it's kind of probably going to be the same thing for me as well. So,
Okay, so
yeah,
so then what I'll kind of finish on is so I have gotten to this point where there's just a lot I'm living in expectations. And there's a little poem that I wrote, and I think I've said it before in here, but there's a the little like the beginning of the poem or a piece of the poem is this is how I was living. Unmet expectations, resentment, then frustration, then logic out the window. That's the way my brain goes. Then loop the loop it goes around. Solution to this can't be found in it, I can't stop this mess. I'm going crazy, I confess. And that was what I was living in. I had all of these expectations for myself of how I should be healing, for my relationship on what a marriage should look like, for just everything. I was holding on to these expectations and these frustrations. And I'll go into more details about it later. But this was when I realized that I needed even more help than what I was currently utilizing.
mm,
And so I was also trying to take control of my husband's emotions as he's dealing with his own triggers, as he's dealing with all of his stuff. I start getting to this point where I am really trying to control what we should look like, what he should be doing, how I should be healing. And so I made the decision to go into an intensive outpatient program, which is it was 3 hours a day, 3 days a week for
wow,
16 weeks.
shit.
Yeah. And so, another layer of this, and I'll talk about it more a little bit last time. While I am in the care facility, as I am processing through all of this stuff, I start turning to food again for comfort. Okay.
Falling
So
back
I
on.
I I had quit smoking off and on over that last
You
year.
just trading in shit, huh?
Yes. So I talked about before that I got up to 250 pounds. I started losing the weight. That was when my body started tearing apart. In the care facility, dealing with all of the mental health stuff, I start eating again. I start eating
Mm.
and eating because they've got so much food there and it is phenomenal and you can eat whatever you want and they just always have food, right? And I start eating, but then I get fearful that I'm gonna gain the weight again.
Oh, no.
So I get into another bout of bulimia.
Eating
And
disorder.
so
Mm.
yes, so binging and purging. I eat, 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 eat,
Oh,
and
shit.
throw up so I can eat
Yeah.
more. And then I throw up again because I don't wanna gain the weight. And so I am seeking food as my comfort through all of this. I
Mm.
don't have my support animal anymore. I don't have the nicotine anymore because I had quit the nicotine. And so my comfort became the food.
So I know
So
you've had this, like, I mean, I know you've had food issues, but was it ever bulimia related?
yeah, so
So
the
you've
bulimia
okay.
started the first time I had bulimia was when I was 12.
Oh,
And
shit.
that
Okay,
was
okay.
before I was introduced to the drugs and alcohol. It
Right.
was I had been eating, I had been binging my whole life growing up. And this was kind of part of me figuring things out, right? Is I had to do my food story, my food history. And I've talked about it kind of off and on before where in childhood I came to into foster care malnourished
Ah.
and hoarding food and eating all as much as I can, and there was a very unhealthy family dynamic of food and culture, church culture of food. And then when I turned 12 and my metabolism slowed down and I started gaining weight, that was when the bulimia started because I'm still eating, but I didn't want to gain the weight.
Ah.
And so then I was introduced to the drugs and alcohol, and so then I didn't need the food as much.
Mm.
And so the food kind of was off and on for years, years, years. But then, like I said, 2020, I'm gaining all of this weight. 2022, I get to the biggest weight. I'm like, okay, I need to work on losing. I start losing naturally. And by the way, on a foreshadowing note, one of the reasons I started losing weight naturally was because of my doctor Dr. Swayze, who who started figuring out that I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. He
Mm.
specializes in lifestyle medicine, making changes to your entire lifestyle to help you heal. And he actually is going to be a guest at some point on this. He is
Perfect.
a veteran himself, and he specializes in Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is the genetic condition I have, and he specializes in lifestyle medicine, especially and utilizing food as medicine. So he
Wow.
helped shape my new identity with food. So that was when I was losing the weight naturally. He was helping me out. He was doing classes with me, helping me recognize what food was doing in my body, helping me recognize how I could use it as medicine so I wasn't on as many pain meds and really helping me. But then I get into the facility, I'm being triggered, and then I stop focusing on lifestyle medicine and I start eating. But I don't want to gain the weight, so I start with the bulimia.
Gotcha.
So along all of this time, I had gotten down to my lowest weight, which was 155 or what
Mm.
well, between 150 and 155. I was about 152, but I
Your
was
highest was
ranging
250?
yes. So
So
I
damn
had
100-pound difference. Oh,
gotten down
dang.
100 pounds. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so I'm stuck in this bulimic cycle, being triggered, but also trying to live life and feeling better because I'm getting married and I'm learning what love is and going through all of these phases. So then I get out of the facility and I'm still stuck in the bulimia. So I am
Mm.
stuck in some of my PTSD from the military stuff, from the death stuff, from the past relationships and being stuck in old expectations. And so that was when I decided to get into the intensive outpatient program for my PTSD and my food addiction. And so next time I will start by talking about that IOP and then moving forward to how I have healed since then. So
Perfect.
just kind of foreshadowing after I did that, I've been able to overcome the bulimia, but still struggling with the food addiction. My PTSD is more under control. I've developed, a healthier relationship with my husband and with myself. And, you guys know as I'm moving forward, learning how to advocate for other people and help them through that through their stuff. So for now, I'll kind of leave it at that. It was a lot of struggles, but there's a lot of hope that came from it all because I was finally in this place where I could be safe enough to be triggered and I was able to find the resources to help me come back up.
Outstanding. Wow. Gosh, it's just crazy to hear other stories, right? And just the struggles, and the awesome part about hearing, is just knowing how far you've made it, and how far you've come and where you're at today. So, um, that's why we're doing this. We're showing the bad side. We're exposing the things that uh, kind of brought us out of our darkness. Um, it may be different things, as you can see with Marie, like there's all kinds of different things, and they all kind of it's almost like a big web, right? That like they end up having some kind of a point that touches your cat, right? Like she was a big instrument in helping you when you didn't even know it. You didn't even know it. You didn't even know how much that cow was going to help you in the 5 years time that you had with her,
Mhm.
you know. And then, being in the facility at the right time, and this is like your third trip to the facility, and finally it's you're at that moment, that third time where everything kind of aligns to where the chute pulls and you're able to kind of start dealing with the things that you've just been suppressing for so long.
Well, and this one was a different facility. So the first 2 were the psych units, which was chronic, or which was acute, right? It's like, "Hey, we're gonna keep you from killing yourself," and
They
so
were
this
just
care.
really trying to keep you more maintained and
Yes,
staying on the path of like,
yes,
let's not harm ourselves.
yeah, and this care facility,
It's
it
more
was
about healing. It sounds like they were focusing
originally
more.
supposed to be just for my hips, but it went. Yeah. Well, it was originally just supposed to be for the hips, but because I had all this mental health stuff going on and all of the extra physical stuff, it turned into a longer thing, and I was there for a total of 8 months. So, yeah. So it was definitely more of a chronic, "Hey,
You were
let's
there to
fix
heal for
everything
your
all at
freaking
once."
hips. And then,
But
then it became a mental health,
yes.
healing experience as well. So,
Yeah.
that's why, you just never know what kind of things may lead you to a situation that changes your life completely, sometimes for the better and sometimes even for the worse. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well, and that's the thing is I have learned to be open to the possibilities because I if I have these expectations of what something is going to be was what something is going to look like, I will not allow myself. I'm cutting my legs off before I start walking. But when I can just sit there and be present and allow life to happen, God does some really weird, awesome things in my life.
expectations can be extremely dangerous. Um, because if you have expectations for X, Y, and Z, but then A, B, and C ends up happening, sometimes that it triggers us, it pisses us off, it makes us have a bad reaction. Um, I've learned in life that expectations are standards we set, right? And the expectations that we set sometimes aren't realistic realistic expectations. They're expectations in our minds, and we think that everybody else around us is supposed to understand our expectations. That's like when you're getting married, you're with someone and you have all these expectations like, well, I expect them to get up and make me a coffee today or something, and then they don't do it. You never had a discussion with them, but now you're pissed off at them because they didn't make you your coffee. So that, like, expectations can be extremely troublesome in your entire life. So, set realistic expectations that are real, and sometimes when you have expectations of another person, it might behoove you to talk about those expectations with that other person so they understand that there's expectations there. But, other than that, you just got to be careful with how you set those expectations, because not all of your expectations are gonna you're not gonna meet them. And then don't allow that, if your expectations don't get met, to send you into a whole whirlspin of life, and that's I think in time you start to learn a lot about expectations.
Well,
And
and I'll talk about that next time a lot
yeah,
more because there
perfect.
was there was there was a lot of ego that had to be crushed because I had expectations again of myself, of God, of my husband, of other people. There was so much that I was holding on to. And when you're holding on to expectations, you're not actually allowing yourself to feel the love that's actually coming. And so that was one of the issues that I had to face was that PTSD put me in a state of constant expectations of failure,
Mm,
constant expectations of fear, of wrongdoing from other people. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's PTSD is I'm being triggered into the past and expecting the same reactions and the same incidents to happen now. So now I've got to defend myself because I'm expecting someone to fail me or someone to hurt me. So
right.
then I'm reacting like you're going to fail me or you're going to hurt me. And so
Yeah.
I wasn't actually open to feeling what love was. And so we go into that thing in the beginning, right? It's letting go of those expectations that I'm going to get hurt or that it needs to look a certain way or that somebody's going to leave me or whatnot and being open to what actually can be.
Yeah, that's yeah. Like I said, you got to be careful with those expectations and the amount that we expect from others. That's that. The funny thing is we have high expectations of others that we don't even expect out of our damn self sometimes, right? So you got to be careful. Like I said, thank you so much, Marie, for once again, bringing us down your journey and talking about things that aren't easy to talk about. Do you have a poem for us to finish it off with?
I do. Let me open up and
Don't be
see which one
shocked when
I'm
you
going
go
to do.
solo for to read your poem, okay?
Yeah, I won't. I won't. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Um Okay, so let me see which one I want to do. So I think I'll do a new start.
Perfect.
So I wrote this poem in December of 2018. So this was after the psych unit the first time and I was trying to kind of understand how to live life on a new plane, a new I like I said living in all those expectations, living in a very sad, depressed, selfish state, and kind of trying to figure out how to live in a more peaceful place. And so I came up with this poem. So a new start. Actually, I'm gonna read it out of the book because I have edited it. So let me find it real quick. A new start. 54. Okay. Gratitude is something I try to live each day. It's more than just a thank you while passing on my way. It's a lifestyle I have learned that helps me overcome the struggles I am going through and the battles I have won. It's a pathway to a freedom money can't attain, where fear of loss and heartbreak no longer can remain. Many things have happened in my crazy life. The pain from some of them still cut me like a knife. Though I know that these moments still make me sad some days, I know the pain is fading into a blurry haze. I have hope in my heart and faith in my spirit. For now, I can help others as they go through it. There are many God dots I'm seeing each day, and I'm learning to connect them no matter where they lay. I cannot change my past or predict the future. I only have today for healing to occur. Many opportunities for choices I can make are laying right in front of me. My faith I won't forsake. Joy fills my being when, after a rough day, I have not gone backwards, and the old me is at bay. This journey is exciting when lessons I have learned and the bridges get rebuilt that in my past I burned. I now have a chance at slowly, finally living the life that I've been dreaming of. The chances God keeps giving. I know I'll make mistakes and sometimes I'll be selfish. Some fires I will start that I cannot extinguish. I have hope with help from others and a loving father that I can make amends, become a better author. The story I want told when I leave this earth is I did my best to show others they have worth. I'm grateful in my heart each night I go to bed, for I'm living a new life, not knowing what's ahead. And each day that I wonder if I'm all alone, I now have a foundation, not made with sand, but stone.
Love it. Another great one by
Thank you.
Marie. And I'll also, you guys, as usual, for the description, put her email in my email. And if you guys want to reach out to Marie for a copy of her poetry book, shoot her an email. And some of them are just amazing. I mean, not some of them, all of them are super amazing. And especially if you're on that journey, trying to find yourself and trying to find your healing. I mean, how many are you at? Do you have a number?
No, I
We need to
probably
get a
have
number.
like
I would love to.
50.
Yeah,
Hold
you need
on.
to get.
1,
You need
2,
to
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 just in this book.
in the
And
book.
then I
Okay,
have at least, well, if you're going with my poems I wrote in college, I've got another, like, 20 over there, and then I have another 10 that I finished and probably another I've got at least 6 that I'm working on now, and then
I'm
I've
almost
got
at
a
100. So I'm.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
there. You're getting close.
yeah,
Well, that's
so
awesome. All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. If you guys would like to get in touch with us, please shoot us an email. Every day is a Saturday, 365 at yahoo.com. If you'd like to be a guest with Marie and myself, come on and talk about your experiences with mental health, the good, the bad, the ugly. We are here for it.
especially how you are going from PTSD to advocacy. That's gonna be our new tagline,
Yeah, I
PTSD to
love that.
advocacy.
Yes, I love
Yes.
that saying. And if you would like to, we're on the YouTube side. You can go watch us at ADAS USMC veteran. And if you're struggling out there, there's a crisis lifeline for you veterans out there. You're going to dial 988 and you're going to press 1, and it's going to put you in touch with someone who could hopefully steer you in the right direction, help you out. Um, I know that they can't necessarily give you resources, but they can put you in touch with resources and things like that. They're more of uh, like it's a center to have discussions and get you into the right resources and put you into where you need to go and give you a list of places for maybe if you need mental health, if you need you're struggling with making a payment or a bill or something. There's certain things that can help you with that are really stressing you the hell out, right? So don't be afraid to reach out, guys. There's a lot of things out there now, especially this day and age. There's a lot of opportunities that you can reach out to, and hopefully, like I said, they can help you. And if they don't help you, call the next number. There's a lot of numbers out there for us to reach out. And some of these later shows and stuff, we'll start going over some of the nonprofits, some of the other great organizations out there that can help you with your mental health or whatever it may be.
I have a list of nonprofits that I'm going to reach out to see if any of them can come be a guest and talk about
Outstanding.
their projects. So,
That's
yep.
outstanding because we need to bring in some people that do equine therapy, reading, whatever it may be, whatever kind of therapies that helps people to get out of their head. We want to make sure we provide it out there. All right. Well, hope you have an amazing day, amazing week out there, and don't forget to like, share the show, help us get this out there, and maybe we can help someone out there, especially maybe you have a family member, someone you know that's really struggling. Uh, hey, put this in front of them. Let them see that there's other people struggling too. And you're not alone. But all right. You got any last words?
Nope. I'm just glad to be here. Thank you guys for letting me share my story.
All right. Thank you guys, and have a blessed day, blessed week. We'll see y'all.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.